we're 3 weeks out from closing. Everything's lined up. The financing is ready. We're good to go. And I get a phone call from the realtor, and he calls and he says, got some bad news. I said, well, what's the news? He said, there was an incident at the property. Well, what happened? And he said there was a shooting.
Yeah.
One person died, one person's in critical condition, and it happened in the building. And I remember at the time I was like, what am I doing? I should be in med school right now. What am I doing right now? I come from the suburbs. I don't know. This is insane.
Right.
This is nuts. And, I went to my dad, I remember, and he said, tell me you want $75,000 off the price. And I was like, I remember at the time just being like, what? Like, what?
And what do you think that property's worth today that you got for $600,000?
It's probably about 2.5
million?
Yeah, probably somewhere around there.
All right, guys. So we got another great podcast for you today. I got myself, my man, Joe Colasuonno. And Joe, what's going on, man? How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, man.
You're nice and relaxed and chill, huh? That's good. Now, Joe, I met you a couple years ago, and I always remember, it was we're in an office in Allentown. It was me and my father, you and your father.
Yep.
It was like first and second generation together, and it was just a real interesting meet to see your family and see our family, and just like what I got from you in that short interaction was that you guys come from a hardworking family. That's what I've always felt from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're hardworking people.
Yeah, man.
Last time I saw you were working, I think you were working in an apartment, getting an apartment ready in Allentown.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your background. Like, how'd you get into multifamily and apartments and stuff? That's what you fully do now, right?
Right. Yeah. So I got into it. I was in grad school. I was a pre-med student. I went to Boston College. I studied pre-med. Went to.
Was that? Am I hearing Boston accent or New York accent?
No. I grew up in New Jersey. New Jersey. So I ended up graduating. I went to a graduate program in New Jersey for biomedical science. It was like a piggyback program. So you take this for like a year, and then you get into their med school. For the most part, I think every single person I did the grad program with ended up going to med school. I was a little too preoccupied during med school with, I was running a small business I started in college, an online drop shipping business.
So you were hustling back then?
Yeah. So,
entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah. And I kind of I never really thought about business at all, to be honest with you, until about my senior year. I started messing around, and I won a venture capital competition, my senior year of college. But I never took an econ class. I never did a single business class ever.
It's all useless, bro.
I was in the program and getting my master's. I was focusing more on this little small business that was making me a few bucks.
Right.
Than I really was on studying and doing all that. And I ended up reading Rich Dad Poor Dad of all things.
Oh, that always messes everybody up.
Yeah, really threw me for a loop, man. And I was like, you know what? I just want to buy. I want to buy an apartment building. And my father was a builder. He was building. At that time, he had never really owned rental property, but I've been around real estate kind of my whole life.
Right.
And
so what was he building?
He was building apartments
for somebody else.
For somebody else, yeah. He was a partner, a small partner, but that was like 2007, 2008. The guy ended up going under, and he was the money guy. He lost everything, so he lost the project that they were working on, and So at that time, I said, I want to buy an apartment building, and I couldn't afford a single thing in New Jersey, even though it was like 2009, 2010. I really didn't have a lot of money, and we ended up. My father said, why don't you check out Allentown, PA? Maybe that's, where, you could find something a little more affordable. And so we went out there and we looked at, the first deal I looked at was an 8-unit building on South 4th Street, no, North 4th. So, you know the area. If you're coming up 4th Street off of Hamilton Street, on the right-hand side, there's those really ornate buildings on the right-hand side there. There's 2 of them side by side. One's an 8-unit building. One's just like a ridiculous single-family home. And so I went under contract on that 8-unit building and had no idea how to get financing, anything. I couldn't get a mortgage because, you know, I didn't really have a ton.
That's near where the prison is, I think. Right?
Yeah, right there.
Okay,
yeah.
right.
So anyway, I ended up having to back out of that because I had a mortgage contingency. And, you know, then I kind of took a step back and I was like, all right, well, let me think about this. I got to figure out how to get some financing. And I ended up around that time, a 31-unit I don't know if I'd call it a complex. It's 31 units, but it's 4 different parcels. They're all consecutive, one next to one another, at the corner of like 8th and Turner.
Oh, nice.
And at the time, pretty rough area. Mm-hmm. The price was like $650, and
$650 for the build for the whole package.
Thing. Yeah, exactly, for all 31 units. Yeah, so like 20 something, low 20s, $21,000 a door. And but they were rough. I mean, they were rough. The place was half vacant. It was in foreclosure.
Right.
And I think it was actually a short sale.
You still have that today?
I do, yeah.
All right. So
for this. Yeah. So we ended up. We got that under contract at $650, and I got hooked up with a hard money lender to buy it because I couldn't qualify for traditional financing. Not just because the asset was destroyed, but also because I didn't really have much credit history. I was 24 years old when we got it under contract. So we ended up closing on it. So I got the financing, I got all the approvals. I was paying 14% interest on that building. And about 3 weeks before it was about to close, and this is like a 6-month process. It was a short sale. So it took a really long time to kind of get to the closing table. And we were at 3 weeks out from closing. Everything's lined up. The financing is ready. We're good to go. And I get a phone call from the realtor, and he calls and he says, "Got some bad news." I said, "Well, what's the news?" He said, there was an incident at the property. And, well, what happened? And he said there was a shooting.
Yeah.
One person died. One person's in critical condition. And it happened in the building. And I remember at the time I was like, what am I doing? I should be in med school right now. What am I doing right now? I come from the suburbs. I don't know. This is insane.
Right.
This is nuts. And, I went to my dad, I remember, and he said, "Tell me we want $75,000 off the price." And I was like, I remember at the time just being like, what? Like, what? I'm over here thinking like I should run from the deal, and he's using it as a leverage point. And,
exactly. He's smart.
It's just, it's smart. Yeah. And so we asked for that, and they said, "Nah, we can't do 70. How's 40?" And we said, "All right, 40's good." So we ended up buying it for $609, and we closed on it. And then when I closed on that deal, I thought, I can retire. Like, I'm done. I'm set, man. 31 units, apartments. This is amazing. I'm ready. Like, I'm done. And I spent the next year there on a daily basis.
Right.
Couldn't afford, at the time, couldn't afford to pay any, subcontractors, any maintenance staff. So I was learning how to like solder a hot water heater in a basement on my iPhone, So I did that for a year, got the whole thing stabilized, and still, at that time, like 2010, 2011, I was having trouble financing out with a traditional bank just because banks were super tight after the recession, after 2008. And, I was a young kid, I didn't really have any experience. And I ended up through a mortgage broker that was looking to try to get me refied out, getting introduced to basically a money partner out in New York. And he came in and helped and refinanced the building with his bank. He came in as a partner. And this year we actually refinanced the building and bought him out of it. And so now we have the building 100% now. So.
And what do you think that property's worth today that you got for $600?
It's probably about 2.5.
2.5 million?
Yeah, probably somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that area totally has come up, right? Totally.
Yep.
changed
No
in
more
a
shootings.
huge way.
No more, well, sometimes some shootings, but
Yeah,
not in
yeah.
my building at least.
Yeah, I mean, we bought a building too, like once right here in Pottstown.
Yeah.
And when we bought it, was a bank foreclosure. I think I was telling you a little bit about it for around two. And the month before we bought it, you know, it was somebody was shooting there, and then like the people who took it over from the bank, they had like armed guards and stuff, and you know, so the thing with those type of properties, though, you know, it's if the area is, you know, not down like D class or something like that,
Yep.
and you put in the hard work and grind and like fix it
Sure.
back up, and it's like you can make it into a nice stable workforce housing
Yeah,
type of place
absolutely.
and create good income.
Yeah.
You know, and doing a great service to the community as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because what happens is people own stuff and they don't take care of it, then you know,
the worst,
the riffraff and everything come in, and it's a breeding ground for
Right.
shootings and stuff like
it
that.
Makes it worse for your neighbors, right? Their property values go down, your
Yeah.
property values go down. You can't get good tenants to move in because nobody wants to live around that, right? So there's not, you can't say enough about just being a responsible, you know, landlord, taking care of your properties, picking the right kind of people, and it just gets better and better if you continue to do that over time.
Not too far from there on 4th Street, I used to manage Hamilton Square when we first got that back in the day. And when I took it over,
The rooming
No,
house?
that's I just took over that in April.
Oh, okay.
But that's Hamilton Tower. But the
Yeah,
Hamilton Square is like an
Hamilton.
apartment complex. It's a little bit.
Is it
It's
on
right.
fourth and Hamilton right there?
Yeah, I think no 4th and just one block over from Hamilton's, like 4th and Chestnut or something, like right across there.
Walnut Street.
Walnut, yeah,
Yep.
Walnut. And when I first got there, it looked like the Bronx. You know what I mean? It was like trash piled up higher than me. You know what I mean? Like by the dumpster and stuff. And it was just a real like people, you know, pissing everywhere and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
there's no rules.
Now today, that property, man, it's not mine anymore. It's some of my brother's, but that property is like, people would call on the phone and be like, and I tell them where it is, they just hang up the phone on me.
Dude, it happened to me all the time. I would say, back in 2011, I say to my brother all the time,
Nowadays,
I go,
you know, there's a waiting list probably
you
to
put
get
up
in
an
there.
ad on Craigslist or wherever you put up the ads back then, and you know, someone would call up and say, "Oh, listen, I'm interested in the 2-bedroom. Where is that?" And you're like, 8th and Turner. Click. Right away.
Hamilton Tower is actually the office building the building in the office where we met with your father.
Yeah.
That was Hamilton Tower.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's exactly. So that was the property when we first got it. You know, it was really bad.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's the whole thing. It's the long game, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you grew from the 31 unit. Now you tell me you're like around 500 units.
A little less, but yeah, we have low 400s.
It's still
420.
that's still freaking amazing. And what period of time did you do this?
It's been 10, 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's really, you know, and you're seeing the 10-year cycle in real estate.
Yep. Yeah, we started from the low.
Yeah. So you saw like the bottom of the real estate cycle is what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Around that time, yeah, because then that's right after 2008 is when everything was kind of hit another bottom and it starts coming up.
Yep.
And then, you know, so you've seen the full cycle almost, you know what I mean? Now it's some point maybe it's going to go, you know, because everything moves in cycles. And that's the thing, like people like our parents, you know, people have been around, they know about the cycle. Everybody, nothing just goes up.
Can't go up forever.
And what are you thinking now is going to happen? Like, what do you,
well,
what
so
are you,
I
what
feel
are you
kind
feeling?
of fortunate for starting when I did, because I think that I don't want to say I got scarred, but like I saw every property we've ever bought, or for the majority of them at least, for, you know, from 2010 to probably 2016, 17, they were all distressed foreclosures, you know, that kind of those kind of things that people bought and paid too much money for back in 2007, 2008, 6, whatever.
Right.
That ended up not being able to manage them and losing them, right? So, you know, it's just seeing that happen has instilled in me as I'm just a little more cautious. I keep my leverage low, or I try to, you know. I think across my whole portfolio at this point, with prices where they're at now, I'm probably 45, 50% levered. You know what I mean? And even if there is a correction, you know, I'm confident that we'll be all right to weather it. But I really don't want to be pushing it.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, you know, we're kind of like more so old school. So we tend to be more on the conservative side than kind of some other players in the game, probably.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's also like, you know, these are properties that we have, it's not like we're sitting here, and syndicating the properties. So
Right.
when you do that, you have X amount of money. You have to spend it. You know what I mean? You're willing.
Have you
sometimes
syndicated
spend
at all, or
No.
thought about it? No.
No.
Okay.
Never.
That's good.
Yeah, it scares the shit out of me.
Exactly.
I don't want to be responsible for anybody else's money, man.
Same
I'm
thing.
good
Same
on
thing.
that.
I don't want to ever do that. You know, I just feel like, you know, good for the people that do it and they find success there.
There's
But
a lot
like,
of people that do really well with
but
it.
like-
It's just not for me.
yeah, I totally agree. I can sleep at night with my own money, but I can't sleep at night
100%.
holding your money.
Right. I agree. 100%.
You know, if mine's is going down, I was like, I'll weather
That's
it.
me,
You know,
I'll
I'll
deal
get
with
through
it.
it. But
Yeah.
I don't want to hold nobody else's money
Yeah.
and be,
Yeah.
but, you know. So you've grown quite a bit over 10 years, and it's you, your brother, and your father?
Yes.
Or, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So what a little bit about like, okay, so your father's from Italy.
Yeah.
Italy, right? So you're second generation here in America, just like me. My father was from India. Little bit of difference than some other people, because you're working with your father. How's that like? You know,
We actually get along really well. I mean, I think there's some things that you butt heads on a little bit here
always,
and there.
yeah.
Like, you know, but at the end of the day, he instilled like a really good work ethic and all.
Exactly.
And my brother and I think, and you know, we all have mutual respect for each other. We're not, you know, we're not clashing all the time.
Right.
You know, and for the most part, you know, I'd say 90% of the stuff we all agree, all three of us on.
Right.
So.
I think. Do you think that the work ethic thing? You think that's something like it's becoming a rare thing here, like with or
I don't know,
you
man.
see
I
it?
think about it a lot. You know, you know, especially because I just had my son. You know, he's 6 months old, and it's like, you know, I want to make sure, you know, you have, like, you know, you're in a similar position, right? So like, you want to make sure that you don't raise them up to be, you know, that they understand what went into building the business and what you guys have, right? Like it's important because
I mean, statistically, the third generation loses the money.
correct,
You know, first builds it, second one kind of even scales it,
right?
and third, you know,
Yeah.
because they born into it. If they're not trained in a proper way, they can just be spoiled and just kind of destroy everything.
And that old
So,
adage is like, you know, I think I've done tons of research on it. I've watched
Really?
tons of podcasts about people talking about it, and you know, I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to like when you have, you know, when you're raising your kids, I think you really need to let them build their own thing, you know, or at least partially. At least, you know, maybe it's like when my son, you know, graduate college or whatever it is, you know, I don't bring him right into the business at first. I let him I say, hey, look, when you get to this point, when you're on your own making, you know, X dollars or have, you know, this much success,
Right.
and you're interested in coming in,
Right.
that's fine. But I don't.
See,
I
for
also
me,
don't know, man.
this is what I did, you know, and I kind of say this, and people listen to the podcast, they hear me say it all the time. Like when my sons turned 14, they started working with the cleaners in the high-rise building.
I think it's an awesome idea.
You know, and they enjoyed it, and they got to see a whole different side of life. And then next year they work with the maintenance guys, or next year they work with the painter guy. You know, the guy who's painting.
Yep.
So they get, you know, each year they got more and more experience. Or then one year maybe they might intern with the office guy or something like that. You know, somebody working in the administration. So that way they get a feel for the business, and then they get to go out and see us at, you know, looking at a property or things of that nature. You know, if they're free. So then, if they have interest, but I'm with you on the whole fact that once they come out of college or whatever, they got to go out and explore the world first.
They gotta find they gotta find what it's like.
Yeah, they got to
Either
find their
working
own
for somebody
ground.
else or doing their own thing and building their own thing.
I grew up like, you know, my father, I was like 10, 12 years old. I'm holding the bucket for my father, and the bucket was the tool bucket. Basically, it wasn't like a tool thing like nowadays. It was just a bucket, right?
Yeah.
He had the tools, and I didn't understand what the heck he was doing. My father, you know, kind of came into, he's an engineer, so he's very intelligent, but he didn't know nothing about apartments. So he learned how to do maintenance for like reading the Time Life series. You know, I saw my father the other night. I was last week. I went to the house, right, to see my mom, and 9:00 he's in bed, right. And I'm looking at him. I went back to see him in the bedroom. He's reading a book on wiring. Now he's an electrical engineer, mechanical engineer.
Right.
He's reading a book on wiring. I'm like, what are you doing? he's like, I'm gonna go fix this heater tomorrow. This guy is just, he's like the one guy that they got doesn't know how to fix the heater. So he's like, he's just refreshing himself on his wiring skills, and he's 82 years old. He's gonna go in there tomorrow, fix that heater, You
gotta respect the hell out of that.
That to me, I was just amazed, that he's, he could just pay somebody to go, like, fix, but he's like, no, I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, no,
do it.
I didn't start working. I was probably 17, 18 when my dad, every summer, was like, I would be working, at construction sites, doing whatever manual labor I had to be doing the whole time.
I was 12, 13, cutting grass, painting apartments.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I'm getting away from this thing.
Because that's the
growing
risk
up,
you have, right?
Growing up, all I saw was the problems. You know what I mean? All I saw was the other side. I didn't see the stuff that, later on I got him to appreciate the money side of things, and seeing like the other side and the investor side of things, and seeing how you could grow your wealth. But I already, like you had a business in school, so you kind of had that entrepreneurial mindset. And I think that's the other key too.
But do you think that's innate, or do you think that can be taught?
I don't know. That's a good question. I know for me, I always had that bug. So, but I always had the kind of like the grass is greener on the other side bug. And I'm glad I went out in the world and explored different things. And I failed a bunch of times doing other businesses, you know what I mean? And they came to really understand. And then Rich Dad Poor Dad also, like when I read that also turned a light bulb on, like, yo, dude, it's right in front of you. Like, stop looking out there everywhere else. Like it's like the acres of diamond
shiny
lesson.
Object syndrome. Right?
Yeah, it's like you think the grass is greener somewhere else, and you don't realize how good you have it. It's just like a lot of people, they've never been outside of America, but they're also down on America. They don't realize how good they have, we have it 100%. Here in America. Yeah. And do some traveling, you know what I mean? Like, not to say there's, the world is beautiful. Every country has its own beauty, but like, we don't know until we really travel and go out and see. We don't really, we take for granted so much here in this country.
I would agree on that.
Now,
do you think that by, your father saying, hey, look, you're 12, you're 13, I want you here doing this, cleaning, doing the maintenance as you grow up and whatever, that almost made you, that pushed you in the opposite direction, right?
Yeah.
So maybe is that not the right move?
I was early, you know what I mean? Like I was 10, 12. I was just kind of working and doing it, and just, I just had that grass is greener somewhere else syndrome, and it took, but I appreciate looking back, I appreciate that I had that experience, I can go in and I know what it is. If a guy's taking 3 days to paint an apartment, I know that I can knock it out in a day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
So would you do do you have kids?
Yeah.
So do you have?
So I told you, like, they started at 14.
They started at 14, right?
Doing cleaning. They started cleaning each year. They would do it. They would step up with different, so they got. So the main thing I want them to know is, you may not know. I'm not like a great craftsman or tradesperson, because I never
you don't
spent a lot of time.
You can't spend the time to do it. Yeah, I get it. But you know how it goes.
But I know, like, I suck at property management. Like, you know what I mean? I suck at being a manager. I can do it if I have to, but I hate it. I suck at it, but I've done it. And so I know I have a sense of compassion and empathy for the people that are my managers. I have a sense of compassion and empathy for the people that are my maintenance guys.
Yeah.
And because I've done everything that they do, pretty much. Not everything, but you know what I mean? I've got the gist. I got a good taste of it.
Sure.
Growing up. So the same thing, I want them to understand, if they were one day if they are the boss, that they understand people and they're able to relate to people and understand their experiences. So they come from a place of empathy rather than a place of ego.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, are you worried that introducing them at a young age like that would do the same thing to them that it did to you, where it's going to like say, hey, look, I don't want anything to do with this business going forward?
No, because they see a whole different side of it too. I mean, when we grew up, we were like seeing a different side of it. They see a whole different side of it. There's a whole different place too, and where we are today, where we was when we were kids. He was just starting out. It was his first property. Didn't look like he knew what he was doing to me as a kid. I'm like, what is this guy doing? Like, is he fixing the problems? Is he making it worse? I don't know. And because it wasn't like a seasoned plumber or something, you know what I mean? He's just kind of like, jackhammering stuff or whatever. He's making it work, and I'm just like thinking in my head, like, is this the right way to do it? I don't know, and so I questioned everything, and later on I could see the genius and the brilliance and the hard work ethic and all these things that as a kid, I was just like, I wanted something else. I didn't know what I wanted, but I just knew it wasn't this,
Right.
So But then, like I said, as I got older, I got more practical. And now studying a lot of different businesses, like I'm sure you've looked at a lot of different businesses.
Sure.
Like at some point you could have jumped into this and
Yep.
that. What do you think makes this business, or what do you love about this business, or think the benefits of this business compared to, say, you know, opening a restaurant, or what, you know, not to say it's,
Well, other than the hours, I mean, the restaurant business is tough.
Yeah.
Weekends, nights, right?
yeah,
I mean, that business.
a lot of
specifically,
employees you got to
yeah,
deal with.
right? And a lot of employees that are kind of, I feel like maybe a little more transient too.
Yeah.
Right? I've looked at a lot of different. I mean, I've over the years looked at a lot of different businesses.
Right.
You know, I've gotten a pretty good. I'm pretty good at just saying, stick to what you know.
Right.
Stay the course. Stick to what you know. I know this looks good, it's shiny. It's, you know, looks nice, but I think there's a lot to be said about mastering your craft, sticking to what you know, getting better, and like, take some time to work on your business, not in your business, right? So like, I don't remember, it was like maybe 3 years ago, and we would bump rents here and there, right? We'd bump rents $25, $35, and it was like 3 years ago, and I looked at our rent roll, and I said, just as an exercise, I just want to go through and see if I put everybody at market rate, like what's the difference like per month? It's like staggering, right?
Right.
And, you know, all right, well, going forward, I'm going to implement that, you know, I'm going to make sure I go and not just standard, 2% or 3%. I want to bring people to market because our costs go up every year, right? And if I'm actually doing the tenants a disservice by not doing that. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but
no, I get it.
You know, I want to be able to pay the bills on time. Labor goes up, material cost goes up. I want to be able to make the repairs on time. I want to be able to provide the tenants with a good service as the property manager, building owner, whatever. And I can't do that if all my costs keep going up. I don't keep up with those costs, and I can't pay the bills, when they need to be paid, and do the repairs and CapEx that needs to get done. People just, especially on old buildings, people just completely underestimate CapEx, the amount of money for CapEx, for and for maintenance and repairs in general.
Yeah. You buy a building that's built in the 70s, that's like 50 years old now. Yeah. So something's gonna.
And my newest buildings are built in the 70s and 80s. Those are the those are the most recent ones I got. I have ones that that 31 units that we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. They were built, that was built in the
20s.
1900s. Okay. 1900, 1910, 1908.
Right.
These are 120-year-old, 110, 120-year-old buildings.
Wow.
They got 120-year-old building problems.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they're expensive to fix, and they happen often.
A big one that pops up and you never see it coming is when a line breaks, right?
Forget it.
Have you've seen that, right?
Yeah,
had the main line breaks.
Either main line breaks or you got a break in like the main sewer line too.
Right, exactly.
Right, and
both ways.
And it's under a curb outside in the street in the city. You got to get a road opening permit. You got to get that whole thing has got to get excavated. You got to take the curb out, re-pour the curb, the sidewalk, the whole nine. Forget it. and it's like insane.
And you don't see it coming. You know what I mean? You don't. I guess there's companies that can kind of see it, but
the money that you put in to fix that doesn't change the rent at all. It doesn't make you any more money.
Right.
It's not like a CapEx like you redo the facade of a building and make it really nice, or you renovate the hallway, you put all you're putting a sewer line in that.
You're bringing it back to functional.
$15,000 to just bring it to functional, no return on investment at all.
Yeah. So there's definitely like a lot of key advantages that I noticed to multifamily, as opposed to once you buy something, the value increases pretty much.
Forced appreciation.
10 years, you get like this appreciation, you get the depreciation, you get the tax benefits, and then you're also getting something that's leveraged. You're buying at 20%, 20%, 30% down, whatever you're putting down money, but you're leveraging something that's
right. So you get 100% of the upside with 25% of the cost.
Right. So these are like four of the key benefits that I don't see in a lot. I'm sure they're out there in some business maybe, but
not that I've seen.
But the bank's not going to give you money to go invest in stocks, or what I mean, or like unless you have like a solid business plan or something like that, or you got some really like you're really good with IT or something. You got this new app or something that everybody's going to go bungles over.
Yep.
There's not a whole lot going on, I don't think, as far as and then something to have a hard asset as opposed to
you can touch it, you can see it, you can walk it,
right.
you know it's there.
And then the other key thing is like, it's never going to go out of style. Like, 10 years from now, this phone, it won't exist.
Right.
You know what I mean? But 10 years from now, people will need an apartment.
Yeah, the kitchen might go out of style.
That's the only thing.
New cabinets,
that's the only thing you're going to upgrade is the kitchen and the bathroom.
Right.
Other than that, they're just rooms, right?
Yeah.
The kitchen and bathroom changes. That's about it. Other than that, you upgrade the wiring or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's about it. But it's here. It's here to stay. Unless they start, cultivating Mars or something like that, right. Or I don't know, or start making these moon pods, or people are just living in the air or something like the Jetsons or something. Yeah. Real estate's something solid. It's here to stay, and they're not making more of it.
Right, especially in areas that are like densely populated too, like Pennsylvania, New Jersey. Like it's typically not zoned for multifamily. A lot of it isn't. You know what I mean? And like in Allentown, perfect example. Like in the city, like there's no land.
Right.
There's really not that much.
Yeah.
So, I've seen and I'm sure you guys have too, an influx of people from New York and New Jersey coming out to Lehigh Valley.
Yeah.
Especially during COVID and everything. It's like staggering. I mean, our vacancy rate's never been lower.
Yeah. It's like I remember years ago, like it would be hard. You'd be
you
churning.
have to work to rent an apartment.
Exactly. Now it's you don't have to work, what I mean? It's just kind of like they rent themselves. As long as you maintain a property, do well, you know, you got a waiting list, or the high occupancy is really great to see that side of things. And so what do you see next? What's your next move? What do you?
I mean, I think prices are really high right now. I am
incredibly high.
We're gonna be doing some building.
Yeah.
For the prices that like 70s housing stock.
Yeah, you were telling me. I'm glad you guys are building that. How many units again is that you're gonna build in that?
The big one's 126 garden style.
And that's right there on that strip, the one that I saw, right?
Yep, that's the same one. Yeah,
that's a great location too, because it's right between like Allentown and Bethlehem.
Yep, and it's right up on the hill there, so like the views are awesome. Of the
I know,
river
right? Yeah,
and everything like that. So, we're excited to do that. We're starting a smaller one on the south side, probably in like March. We'll break ground, 16 units.
You got the approval and everything for
got
that?
It all, yeah.
Wow.
So we're lining up the financing now. We're waiting on like the last thing is this sewer planning module from DEP.
Well, the great thing about you guys too is you guys got the building experience,
right,
as well as the apartment biz experience. So
it's like a roll up. We can we take the apartments, we build them out, and roll.
And then now you're talking about your newest units are in the 70s and 80s. Like now you got something brand spanking new.
Right. Yep, and for the same price that 78 units are trading for at this moment, right?
Right.
So we're going to be building. Maybe we'll be all in for $1. I don't know, maybe $135,000 a door, brand new. When some of that older stuff is selling for 120, 125.
Yeah, and then if you can even, hopefully you're not going to probably flip it anyway, but you could, you could flip it at probably 200 or something if it's new.
Yeah, probably around there.
Easy, with the way prices are going, unless there's like a big change in the market or something like that. So, yeah. Any last words or anything to the new guys coming in, or inspiring words of wisdom we want to share with us?
Way tougher now. I mean, look, it's tougher now, but it's also not in some respects. Like when I started, at least, the properties are all there. Like you could buy them; they were cheap, but I couldn't get the financing as a new guy.
Yeah. Now
the banks are much more amenable to lending money to somebody that's new, that has some cash and can make can purchase the property. So on one side of the coin, it's it's harder for a new guy now, but on the other side, it's not. Yeah, because the money's there. Yeah. You can get the money. You just got to get the deal, right? Yeah, which is tough. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming out, man. You got an amazing story. You got amazing grind. And one other thing kind of comes to mind. You learned everything like from the ground up as far as maintenance. You guys do your own maintenance still, or you guys got a crew now, or what? We have crew, yeah. Obviously, with that many you'd have, but we have maintenance staff. But do you still get your hands dirty with maintenance or something, or is it just kind of administration? Rare now? For me. My brother does. Okay. For sure. So our dynamic is kind of where my father handles kind of the larger construction projects and stuff like that. So almost like a project manager. Mm-hmm. He'll tackle those. I do basically all the property management in the office. Okay. Acquisitions and financing and all that stuff. More so the office stuff. And my brother kind of jumps from back and forth.
Is everything in Allentown? Or you got Jersey too?
Yeah, everything's in Allentown. We have one building in Jersey, just in Asbury Park, a small 4-unit.
And Jersey's more expensive than Allentown as far as buying, probably.
Oh yeah,
because of the population density and those things, closer proximity to New York.
More expensive.
Then
sure.
I think that's what's really helped Allentown is the whole flood coming in. It's been happening over years, but now all of a sudden it's just more and more. And now more and more people are trying to get out. Like New York's going to shit. You know what I mean?
It's rough,
like people.
Rough.
I mean, it'll bounce back hopefully, you know. But the way they're managing things, and you know, so. All right, man. Thanks so much, man. Absolutely. It's been great talking to you. No, it's been fun. Real great to reconnect as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See us next time.